Testing, testing. Okay, so that's working. Let me go back to Zoom. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Testing, testing.
Right there. Mm-hmm. I don't have any sound though. I don't have any sound. Yeah. Internet audio, I thought.
For those of you who are just now logging into the meeting, we do have sound. We just have not started this meeting yet. Please bear with us just a few more minutes.
All right. Yeah, I got it. They just don't have sound yet.
Hey, welcome everybody. We'll get this meeting started. It's 5:30. If everyone would please stand, we'll do the invocation and we'll follow that up with a pledge.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we are so thankful to be gathered here tonight to do the town's business. We ask that you will give us wisdom, that you will give us courage, that you will give us knowledge to do what is best for all the citizens who live in this town. And we thank you, and it's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Okay, the flag is to the left of the stage here. Attention, salute, pledge. Everybody can be seated. Debbie, would you call the roll, please? Here. Okay, everybody has a copy of December meeting minutes. Any questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion to approve minutes from last month and a second. Debbie?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. At this time, anybody have any announcements for us? Okay. All right. We'll move on to why we're all here. First item under new business is consider rezoning request by Summers and Taylor of property located along Bill Garland Road and Marbleton Road from A1 to M2. Yeah, folks, if there's bleachers up here, if you all want to, you can go through this door here at the end and get up here in the bleachers if you like, instead of having to stand. All right, who's going to handle the presentation from Summers Taylor?
Okay. All right. Well, good evening. I'm Grant Summers. I'm president of Summers Taylor. For those of you who don't know, we're a fourth generation road construction firm. Been here all my life. We've been operating asphalt plants in this area for the last 60 so years. So obviously what brings us here is our plans in Unicoi County. Kind of the point in the process where we're at. Obviously we've gone through a TDEC hearing and received a TDEC air permit. And so we have plans to put an asphalt plant there. I think all of you know that we purchased CAPS plants earlier last year. And so we have a site there that an asphalt plant has operated on for the last 30 years. We actually operate a plant on an adjacent parcel we're now proposing back in the early 90s. And so, we have a plant site. We could continue operating that one there now. Our plan obviously is we want to make this better. You may not believe it, but we do want to be a good corporate neighbor. We want to put in technologies and plants that are better than what was there now. Like I said, we haven't, the plant that's been operating there for many years was not us. And so if there was some issues in the past, we can't really speak to those. But our plan is, and our desire is to put in a plant that'd be a much better neighbor, much newer technology. And our desire is to put it in a place that is less conspicuous from the interstate, from the road there, and to the neighbor who's most affected, who's not here, not Mrs. Rutherford, would be a better location relative to her house. The location that we are requesting is as far back, tucked up against the quarry as it could be, up against railroad property, and we think it's a better location. So again, we have an existing site, and what we're here to talk about is the asphalt plant in Unicoi either going to be where it is now or going to be on the adjacent parcel that we are proposing, where we did operate a plant back in the day. So, you would ask, why are we wanting to do this? Well, we do want to move a plant. We do want it to be better. It does, the site that we're proposing does lay better. And so to put in the newer plant that we would like to, it just fits better on that site. And so that's that's why we're requesting this. But in terms of, our plans going forward, we have the TDEC permit. We can operate where we were. But nobody wants that because the plant that's there is certainly not as environmentally friendly as the one that we would like to put in. So I understand not everybody likes asphalt plants, and I respect that, but we are part of building infrastructure. There needs to be some. There needs to be one in basically every county to reduce the overall global footprint, carbon footprint. So I understand this is a very sensitive issue for everybody. We believe strongly in what we do. We try and operate as best we can and with the best environmental protections that we can. But I understand this is a very important topic to everybody. So I will be happy to answer questions, maybe not everyone, but in terms of the process of what, I don't know if y'all go into public session or whatever, but that's all I have to say at this time.
Grant, you mentioned Kim Rutherford, and I'm a little concerned. You had mentioned before that she favored you moving the asphalt plant further away from her. But I'm curious, does Kim Rutherford want an asphalt plant there at all? Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
There would not be one there, but that is not.
Any other questions from the board members? Before we can proceed with discussion, we'll need a motion.
Well, you just told me to make that motion. I make a motion, we discuss the rezoning of the asphalt plant.
Take care. All right, I'll take care of it. All right. I move that the Planning Commission of Unicoi recommend to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen that the request to rezone parcels 50.01, 2, 3, and 4 from A1 agriculture to M2 heavy industrial be not approved. All right. Thank you. All right. We have a motion. We have a second from the mayor. Now we can discuss.
Let me just say a couple of things. I've been on this board since August of 2018. You have to be trained to be a planning commissioner. And my very first training, the instructor said about 10 times, you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan. You've got to design your territory and determine what's going to go where. And you've got to stick to your plan. You've got to have a reason for it, and you've got to stick to your plan. I came to my first meeting. I was so pumped because I knew something that the rest of the people didn't know. So I go in there, and my fellow commissioners can tell you, and I say, we got to look at this plan. I mean, we got to make sure that we like what we've got. And they all looked at me like I was from outer space, and they said, there's the plan. It's on the wall. We've spent many, many hours and much consideration designing the town of Unicoi and what it's going to look like. Remember that discussion, Doug? Here's our industry. Here's our business. Here's our agricultural. Here's the way we want our town to go. And I said, okay, then. I guess we don't need to talk about that. So we have a plan. We don't need to rezone, and we don't need to change the plan. Thank you.
Phyllis, you wanted to say something?
I don't know how to use the microphone, so this is going to be fun. Close to the mouth? Okay. I have gone over everything except this, which I just got. But, and all of these things I'm going to preface with, in my opinion. In my opinion, we approved rezoning. If we approved rezoning, we would be breaking the law. Not only the town, which clearly states no asphalt plants, Ordinance 9518, but the Tennessee State Code 137208E, which does not permit expansion through acquisition of additional land. In my opinion, since we are unable to expand the grandfathered 2 acres, and since we have received the desire for asphalt reproduced in the county from the Irwin Department of Public Works, I suggest the asphalt production be moved to Irwin, where they can locate it in an industrial park. In my opinion, we would not be able to afford the upkeep of the roads here with heavy asphalt laden trucks going back and forth. Since we get almost no tax revenue from the plant, this will put the burden of upkeep on the citizens and most likely cause them to be taxed. In my opinion, increasing the output of asphalt from the old plant, about 30 tons to 100,000 or more, will hurt the health of our citizens. Asphalt processing facilities produce hazardous air pollution such as formaldehyde, hexane, and phenol. In my opinion, this beautiful area of Unicoi has had a major increase in property values and the amount of homes. One study shows that a nearby asphalt plant can reduce the value of a home up to 56%. There have already been people unwilling to move to the area, and this is a gentleman, a doctor from Georgia, because of the rumor that we might allow expansion. In my opinion, I don't believe Mr. Summers nor his attorney would put their children or grandchildren under an asphalt cloud, and I do believe it is easier to ask for forgiveness in this situation than permission. Further, I would ask the town to survey the present grandfathered plant to assure it does not exceed the 2 acres.
Any other board members have anything to say? Debbie, did you have comments submitted? No? Okay. All right. We're going to open the floor up for citizen comments. If you'll stay in your seat, raise your hand. Someone will bring a mic to you. Okay.
I was gonna be the runner.
Yeah, please keep your comments.
Hi, good evening. And I'm going to read my notes so that I don't forget anything because I get nervous when I speak in public. So, hello, my name is Margaret Lewis. I live at 310 Meadowview Lane, 1/2 mile from the site. I'm a member of a recently formed community association called Unicoi Clear. I'm a lifelong educator and moved here 10 years ago and have frequently volunteered in support of our town. Last May, there was a small back page public ad in the Irwin Record saying, my mask keeps falling down, guys, air pollution would increase and any questions could be directed to the Tennessee Division of Air Pollution Control. After contacting the town to see if they were aware of what this was, I tried to learn as much as possible about air pollution permits, zoning, and asphalt production. What I found was this situation we are in is repeatedly played out, mostly in small towns, regionally and across our nation. Usually where there is no zoning or heavy industry ordinances in place. I'm taking it off. What is unique to our town of Unicoi is we have an official zoning map, as Charlene just said. We have an ordinance prohibiting new asphalt plants. We have an existing asphalt business that is grandfathered in to operate on 2 acres, and they, by definition, are pre-existing, non-conforming businesses. The state prohibits their expansion through the purchase of additional land. So what we have here is an asphalt business that is grandfathered in on a 2-acre parcel where it was originally located before the town was incorporated and property was zoned. The president of the company stated publicly in a town BMA meeting that, quote, "We will be tearing down the CAPS plant and rebuilding on the same spot." But now Summers Taylor is requesting to expand their non-conforming business to 15 acres through the purchase of additional adjoining land. Their request is not in alignment with Tennessee code, and they are asking the town to ignore not only our own ordinance, but the state code, and to rezone to the other 3 land parcels from agriculture to heavy industry to expand their non-conforming business. They are asking the town to grant them rights the state law prohibits. I sincerely ask you, please carefully consider the consequences of your action tonight.
Good evening. I'm Judy Beckman, and I too am a member of Unicoi Clear. And we provided the Planning Commission with a handout. And if you look on page 7, you'll see a street map of the north end of the town. And the county tax assessor did an analysis for us and determined that there are 550 homes within 1 mile of that plant. Now, if you just have a conservative estimate that there are 2.5 people in each house, that's 1,375 people who will be affected by that plant once it's up and running at full speed. And my husband and I are one of those homeowners. We're concerned that if you allow the plant to expand in size, the overall impact in terms of pollution, odor, noise, and just the general appearance of it will be very detrimental to our quality of life here in Unicoi and our property values. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Wayne Steinke, and I live off of Eloise Lane. I live about a half mile from the quarry as the crow flies. My wife and I moved down here from Indiana in 2018 because we love the location of Unicoi, because we can see the Buffalo Mountains out the front of our house and the Unicoin Mountain out the back side of it off of our deck. I want to bring up a couple points that nobody else seems to think about. It's like there was a couple times early in the morning where we're sitting in our house, all of a sudden we hear boom, boom, the windows rattle. Next thing you know, you look out to see what the heck is happening. Here's a big old cloud of dust just comes floating over the house. That happened to me a couple times while I was mowing my yard also. You know, what are the environmental impacts of those big old dust clouds from when they blast out of the quarry there? You know, we feel the blast when they blast rock out of the quarry. You know, nobody brings that up. What about foundation damage to the houses that are around that area there? You know, and we don't absolutely need that quarry there, like the lady brought up. Why not move it to Irwin? They have an industrial complex down there. It's more closer to I-26 than where you guys would be right now to have to get onto it. But those are just some of the points that I wanted to bring up. You know, there's more to it than just environmental, but there's also just the quality of life.
You gotta hold it kind of close to the mouth.
Not a problem. Thank you for the board and Unicoi. My name is Dr. Michael Stump. I've been here for about 5 years with my family.
I should note that my doctorate is not medical, but it's PhD in environmental science. And I've been doing environmental for over 20 years. I've been in senior management for companies that do the same type of monitoring that would be required of Taylor Summers. And I'm just very concerned about the environmental impacts from health, which we've all talked about. I can just say from that, the health benefits are very negative compared to any economic benefits. So I'm opposed to that. And I've just been here 5 years and just want to thank the town of Unicoi for the time.
My name is Jeff Warner, and I have property right behind it. It's section 203. I haven't built a house on there yet, but I plan on doing so. And when the plant was running, if it came out an easterly wind, you can smell it, and it's bad. You know, I just don't know what people are going to do on the east side of the plant, because we have normally a northern westerly wind that comes through there, and it's going to blow it on these houses that are $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 homes that are right there on the road. And if I was those people and this does go through, I would put out a sign and say, enjoy the smell from these people. And then everybody that voted for it on the board, I'd put their names on it, because they're going to have to smell this. And they've got these beautiful homes. And it's like no one seems to care. Hey, let's just do it. That's all I got to say.
Good evening. My name is Diane Miller, and I live in Unicoi. I reside there very close to the railroad tracks as part of my walking hike. I moved there about 7 years ago with my family, with my daughters, my granddaughters, my one daughter here who's present as a realtor. The rumor is out. Bad news for Unicoi if this happens. So I just wanted to state my objection to any rezoning with regard to residential being plunked into somehow, or agricultural being plunked into, you know, heavy industry. I just don't feel this is anything other than spot zoning. The land use plan is just not consistent with this rezoning with regard to the impact on the streets, the pollution, the recreation, our family life. I have asthma, and I live with my horses up against the mountain in a quiet region that I carefully checked out before I moved there to ensure that the zoning would be residential and rural and pleasant for everybody to enjoy and for my family to thrive. I'm a retired educator in this region. A couple of things I had to mention also was that there were 500 homes nearby, and heavy industry is just not consistent with this. The impact with the trucking and the air pollution and the noise is a burden that we shouldn't have to endure. Fundamental fairness is one of the foundational truths of land use law, and equal properties should be treated equally. And a logical and sound analysis would prove this rezoning application, spot zoning, which I am specifically against. And it does not go along with the land use plan in my region, in my home, in my town. And there's no public benefit that I can see that I would be proud to be a part of. Thank you for this opportunity to share my concerns as a citizen of Unicoi, Tennessee, along with my family that also reside presently on the street and within, shattering window distance from this proposed plant. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Richard Doris. I am a member of the Unicoi Clear. Get that down. My wife Waverly and I live less than half a mile from the plant. I have a background in law enforcement at both the state and federal levels, and I know how hard it is to enforce regulations and standards. It's not like catching criminals who break the law. It's more subtle than that. I don't think as local residents, we want to be in the business of trying to know when to call the state agency to report conditions that we think might be out of line. We can't judge what we're smelling and seeing against some of the technology allowing emission levels. Of course, if the asphalt plant is operating full tilt on 2 acres, then they're grandfathered in. There's going to be some smell, and there already is. And that's just the way it is. But if you allow them to operate on 4 times as much space, it's common sense that the operation will be so much bigger that it be totally out of line. And correct me if I'm wrong, the new plant you say you're wanting to put in, isn't that plant more than 30 years old already? Thank you.
Got to keep it up close to your face, okay?
You got it. I'm Richard Anderson, live 5921 Unicoi Drive. I've been there 50-some years. I've been on the farm since 1945. And our property joins this property that Summers has bought. And I'm not saying this to be belligerent, but nobody can tell me nothing about what has gone on down there over the years. And speaking of smell, the gentleman brought up over here, when Summers had the portable plant in there in the mid-90s, that the Unicoi County Commission turned their back on those people down there and let this stuff come in. Okay, when you stand outside of our home and the smell from the asphalt is so strong that it will burn your nose and your throat, people tell me what's wrong with that. Nobody would listen to me. The state might as well save your breath, is it. But I think some people in here have opened the state's eyes to some of this. And another thing is, you know, Summers Taylor is an earth moving company. That's what they do. They can move a molehill down to a mountain. Now, I want you to visualize what that could look like in the next 12 years up there if the zoning were to be allowed for them to take and go into heavy industrial on this property. But thank you for the time.
You got to hold it up close, okay?
I'm Georgia Bailey, and I live right in front of that thing. And all those big old trucks comes in and out, and that diesel smoke that you can't breathe, and then septic sink, that tar plant on top of that, you can't even be out in the yard that you can't breathe hardly. It's just a mess. And them trucks run down through there, and big old diesel trucks, when they got that load on them, you smell that diesel and that stuff too, you can't even breathe. My house is right in front of it. The trucks has to go and blow them up around them, right around the house. And then up over the hill, that diesel going up over that hill, it's a mess. So I wanted to get that thing out of there.
Hold it close, okay?
My name's Michelle Warner, and I have lived on Garland Road since 1992. I remember very distinctly how smelly the plant was. And during that time, people were having lawsuits and complaining about it, and we were told that it would only be there until I-26 got completed. That wasn't true. But anyways, I am very concerned about any kind of expansion on this plant, or the fact that they would, rezone something to heavy industry, which to me would just be open Pandora's box for even worse things. And I really thank you all for standing up and having a vision for what our town will be and what our grandchildren will have and what our children will have. Because if it wasn't for people like you, who knows what will happen. So I really, really appreciate all of you standing up for the zoning and making this company just go by the law, go by our rules. And I think that in the long run, we will be greatly appreciated for what our beautiful valley is. We've already fought off a nuclear enrichment plant. We've already fought off this same battle in 1994. So we don't need to revisit it again. And I really appreciate all your support and everyone for coming here tonight, because it means a lot. It's not fun smelling an asphalt plant. And my husband and I don't even bug spray on our property since 1992. So it's not fun having an asphalt plant there. So I think everybody agrees here. And it makes me very happy that everybody is on the same page.
Hi, my name's Ruby Wiseman. I'm a member of Unicoi Clear. I'm a retired RN and educator. Several people have touched on the health issues, but let me tell you folks, working in ICU with patients who are struggling to breathe, you earn a whole new appreciation for lung issues. And these chemicals that they're going to be putting out, the dust they're going to be putting out, are dangerous to all our health. Most all of us are older retirees, want to stay here and live out our life. We've been here for 25 years and don't want to have to go anywhere. I have asthma and lung problems. My husband has lung problems, and we are straight east of the plant. And when CAPS was running, we had to keep the windows closed just from the dust. So add everything else to that, and you're just looking at more trouble. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, I'm going to add my thanks to what Michelle said to the Planning Commission members for indicating the direction they're heading here. But I'm also a member of Unicoi Clear, as a number of people have been, and I want to. This is kind of Unicoi Clear is new to the town officials, I think, and it's a recently formed grassroots community organization. And I want to kind of read part of the mission anyway, which is to preserve the rural and suburban character of the town of Unicoi, located in the Valley Beautiful on the edge of the Blue Ridge Mountains. In particular, we will work to champion and protect the natural beauty of the landscape, its forests, air, and water, and to encourage economic growth, tourism, and other businesses and activities that respect the land and preserve our quality of life. So we, Unicoi Clear, provided an information packet in advance to the Planning Commission, and I hope you all had a chance to read it and that it informed your thinking so far. I'd like to ask actually that be entered into the public record of the meeting if I could. I want to say too that I'm not an activist. I've never been an activist before. I'm not anti-industry, and I'm not against asphalt. I mean, we all need asphalt, obviously. It's in the parking lot out here. It's in the roads we drove in on. It's in our driveways. It's in the shingles on the roof, right? So that's something we all need. It's a question of where, right? So the trouble with coming at the end of the line after a lot of people have spoken is that everybody's already said what you thought about saying, but maybe I'll make a couple of points that are kind of in addition. Mr. Summers mentioned that in the past, Summers Taylor operated briefly a small asphalt plant on another portion of the land that they own, that's zoned agricultural. And we have another ordinance in the town, I think it's 05132, that does not allow operation of any non-conforming business if it's been out of operation for 30 months. And this is a case of nearly 30 years, right? So it doesn't allow you to continue with an operation that's not grandfathered in other words, and it's not allowed to be operated there because it once did 30 years ago. And also you heard that Tennessee code doesn't allow the expansion of non-conforming businesses onto land where it's not zoned for it. And of course, this the other land, apart from all of the land there, including the 2 acres, is zoned agricultural. It's just that the 2 acre parcel is grandfathered in because asphalt operations were there before the town was. The companies has said in the past that this would add a lot to the town's tax base, but in reality, the personal property, the business property tax, and the real estate tax go to the county, not to the town of Unicoi. Sometimes people get confused about the county of Unicoi, the town of Unicoi. They're 2 different entities, right? So also local employment will be minimal, as I understood it. Maybe there'd be 1 or 2 truck drivers, but in essence, it's pretty much a one-way street in favor of the company. So I'm glad that you all have kind of ascertained that, I think. And so, Summers Taylor has indicated, as Mr. Summers did, a willingness to operate on the 2 acres. It may not be as convenient for them, certainly it wouldn't be, as having more land to expand onto, but they can meet local needs from there, and they can even meet the state's future needs from there. And so anyway, just to summarize, if you rezone the entire 15 acres, okay, well, if you let them do this, they will open the door to expand their operations however they want, and in a way that will change the character of this town forever. So thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bill Beckman. We live on Springbrook Road, so we look down at the quarry and over to Buffalo Mountain. But I think everybody has expressed themselves better than I could possibly do it. So I would like to thank the Planning Commission for the courage and the wisdom that they have shown. It reminds me of the hymn, "Grant us wisdom, grant us courage for the living of these days." There's a lot of pressure brought on you folks. And so you've shown a lot of wisdom. You've also shown a lot of courage, and we are grateful to all of you for doing that. Thank you, thank you.
Somebody on Zoom wants to say something.
Okay, go ahead and request it.
All right, is there anybody that is joining us on Zoom that would like to say something?
I think I'm doing some handshakes here. Tell them to go ahead and unmute themselves.
If you'll unmute yourself and state your name.
Hi, my name is Erin Worthy, and I live here in Unicoi, and I have a young family with children ages 7 to 14. And there's a lot of other children in our neighborhood, and I'm concerned about the asphalt plant expansion, the environmental effects, the health of the air quality in our area. And I think this would be a mistake in order to allow this expansion in our town due to health concerns and the safety of our community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, if anybody else online that would like to make a comment, if you'll unmute yourself and then state your name and make your comment.
Are you able to hear me? Hello?
Go
Can you
ahead.
hear me? Okay, my name is Jen Galler, and I'm making comments on the zoning ordinance under section 711, which covers M2 districts. It seems to lack any special control for noise or any other objectionable conditions. The town has a setback requirement for methadone clinics of 2,000 feet from any school, daycare, park, or church. And I recommend same for new asphalt plants. I'm asking for you all to look into this and consider the effects. Thank you.
Anybody else online? Any members want to say anything else? If not, I'm going to let Mr. Summers have the last say. You want to like to say anything else, Mr. Summers? Yeah. Okay.
I'm Tom Seeley. I represent Summers and Taylor, and there were a couple issues that I would like to address that were brought up regarding some of the legal aspects of this. One, there are two parcels that Summers and Taylor purchased from CAPS, and those two parcels are approximately 13 acres. The law is very clear that that plant is grandfathered in. Summers and Taylor will continue to operate that plant where it currently exists on those 13 acres, those two parcels. That's where the plant is grandfathered in. So the decision before the Planning Commission and before the board is really an opportunity by rezoning this to move a plant and have a plant back closer to the quarry, which is a more consistent use, closer to the railroad tracks. But the issue is not whether or not there's going to be an asphalt plant there. There is going to be an asphalt plant. It'll either be where it currently exists, and the law also allows, and it's very clear about this, we can expand that existing asphalt plant on those 13 acres so that everyone's clear. Again, why we're requesting the rezoning. Summers and Taylor has a reputation in this area as being a very good corporate citizen. We are trying to move this back closer to the court. But again, we recognize the plant that we're proposing is going to have lower emissions than the current plant. But if this is not rezoned, it puts Summers and Taylor in a position that they will operate the existing plant. So that's the issue. The Planning Commission has the authority to recommend this rezoning. Rezoning this and the quarry property, again, that is more consistent with an M2. That's clearly not agricultural land where the quarry exists and where the CAPS property is. So again, this is an opportunity. Again, we know this is a balancing act, and we all feel very strongly about the strengths and the beauty of this area. But Summers and Taylor employs about 500 people. It's important to this area. It's important to the town of Unicoi. We see our kids leaving, going other places because they can't find jobs here. This is one of the biggest employers in our area, and they're serious about protecting the environment. This is an opportunity, by considering this rezoning, to again take better care of the environment, to move it back, to have a newer plant that'll have lower emissions. Not rezoning is a decision to leave the older plant to continue to operate. So again, legally, the existing plant is grandfathered in, and we will be operating that unless we're able to rezone it and move it back and put a more efficient plant in its place.
Thanks. And yeah, that is kind of the decision at hand. Again, I don't expect everybody to be happy about this, and I understand everybody being very passionate about their homes. But some of the comments that I heard, and he kind of dealt with it, were based on misconceptions. The 2 versus the 13 acres, or, talk about us expanding to a much larger area, and that's simply not what's happening. The plant that we are proposing to place on these 2 adjoining parcels, in size of the plant is almost no bigger. It's actually much shorter than the plant that's there. It can produce a little bit more tons per hour, but that does not change the total number of tons that are going to be produced in Unicoi. So if we have a job that's however many tons, it can be done in 5 hours or 50 hours, and that's not the scale. But my point is it doesn't change the amount of tons that are going to be produced in this county, but it does change the amount of pollutants that would be produced. The plant that we would like to do, which really needs to be on the adjoining parcels, is much newer technology. And so it is a plant, the gentleman referenced the plant in the early 90s. That is not the plant we're going to be moving. We purchased the plant that we're wanting to just about a year ago because we felt like it would be a much better neighbor. It's a different style. The bag houses are different. It's a double drum style, and everybody wanted to get on the double drum. It doesn't mean big. It's a style that captures the pollutants better. And I can explain it to anybody offline if they would like. So and I've heard some concerns about, because of the sequence of the permits that we were wanting multiple plants. It's simply not true. We want one plant here and we want it to be newer. We just want to move it to the adjacent parcels. We've made a commitment, if necessary, to say we're only going to put a plant on these two parcels, which is a commitment from us from taking our grandfather status on 13 acres to 3. So I want everybody to be very clear when we talk about expansion, it is not taking and putting a much bigger thing. Really what we're trying to do is put a plant and make it more inconspicuous, further away from the road. You wouldn't, I don't think, be able to see it from the interstate like you can the existing CAPS plant now. So again, I appreciate everybody's time. I know you're not going to be happy about it, but we are trying to do as best we can in the business that we are, which is producing asphalt. So thank you. But just be clear, if the Planning Commission votes this down and the BMA votes against it, there still will be an asphalt plant there. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Summers. All right, any other discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to recommend to the BMA that the request to rezone parcels 50.01, 2, 3, and 4 from A1 to M2 not be approved. Debbie, can you call roll?
I'm doing this for Richard Anderson. I don't want it. No.
Well, yeah, vote. Yeah, you want to vote yes.
I want to vote yes on the.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, Richard, I was getting so excited. I vote yes on the no.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, the motion carries. And that will now go to the BMA at their next meeting. All right. We'll move on to the next item, review and approve preliminary site plan entitled Construction Plans for Unicoi County Asphalt Plant. Before we begin, I'm just going to go ahead and make a motion that we postpone consideration of this until the March 1st meeting. That way we'll know what the board or mayor and alderman decide on the rezoning request. All right, we've got a second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Debbie?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, the motion carries. Please make sure that's on the agenda for next month's meeting. All right, anybody else have any other business before the Planning Commission? And okay, is there anybody here that would like to address the commission on anything other than the asphalt plant? Okay. Something besides the asphalt plant, correct?
Yes, this is in regards to the 300 of us that do not have 21st century internet in Unicoi. I would like to say that if everybody could write Rusty Crowe and Jim Holesclaw in reference to allowing utilities to cross their boundaries in order for us to get Irwin Utilities fiber optic high-speed 1 gigabyte internet. I would urge everybody to do that. I've written them. I have no response back from them. So I don't think if it's just one person or two people, maybe if we could get the 300 people that do not have the fiber optic internet, that would be great if we could do that. But that's what I would like to raise, that issue. Because when you have 10 megabytes, and it stinks. As for me personally, every time it rains hard, I lose internet and I'm out for a day and a half.
Yeah, I think I think that issue was brought before the Unicoi County Planning Commission, or the
Lee Brown with Irwin Fiber, Irwin Utilities. We all voted, every alderman approved that resolution that would be sent then in a packet to Rusty Crowe and Holesclaw in favor of state legislation that would allow the utility companies to move into those other areas with agreements with other utility authority. So it's coming.
Yeah, they have to get approval from the state before they can do that. The Irwin Utilities wants to do it. They just have to get all their ducks in a row, all the approvals. So it's coming soon. All right. Anybody else have anything they'd like to say? Any comments, questions from anybody else? All right, we have a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it.